We learn in this session some numericals and some concepts in electric current. Say first numerical as actually which is an example in textbook. We read, estimate the average drift speed of conduction electrons in a copper wire of cross-sectional area 1 into 10 raised to minus 7 meter square carrying a current of 1.5 ampere. Assume that each copper atom contributes roughly one conduction electron. Density of copper 9 into 10 raised to 3 kg per meter cube and its atomic mass 63.5 U. U means atomic mass unit. Say we first calculate drift velocity. For that we write formula I is equal to NEA/VD. So VD equals I by NEA. I by NEA. Say here we know I. I is given to be 1.5 ampere. Area is given to be 1.0 10 raised to minus 7 meter square. And then the E we know charge on electron 1.6 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. We have to calculate N. N means number of free electrons per unit volume. We are given that to say each copper atom contributes roughly one conduction electron. That means we have to calculate how many electrons, say how many free electrons are there in 9 into 10 raised to 3 kg of say kg of copper, because it occupies unit volume. Therefore N can be calculated by this formula. N is 63.5 in the numerator. 9 in say Avogadro number we write 6.023 10 raised to 23 into 9 into 10 raised to 3, which amounts to be 8.5 10 raised to 28 per meter cube. Observe, this gives number of free electrons. Let me explain this, because according to Avogadro number, 63.5 grams of copper contains Avogadro number of atoms 6.023 10 raised to 23. So that is for 63.5 grams. Now we calculate as we require for 1 meter cube. We take density as the mass 9.0 into 10 raised to 3. In fact, here I have to write it as 10 raised to 6 for getting grams, because 63.5 is in grams. So 9 into 10 raised to 6 grams of copper is taken. Therefore, we get finally 8.5 10 raised to 28 per meter cube. N value, we substitute everything. VD equals 1.5 by 8.5 10 raised to 28 into E 1.6 10 raised to minus 19 into, say we write into area 10 raised to minus 7. This will give us around 1.1 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter per second, or say 1.1 millimeter per second. This is the value of drift velocity. Now with this we need to proceed for next part B, but before that, say here observe how to calculate N, number of free electrons per unit volume. For that we have used Avogadro number. I explain it once again. 63.5 grams of carbon, say copper, contains Avogadro number, because that is 1 mole of copper. And now we are having density, the 1 meter cube of copper mass is 9 into 10 raised to 3, converted into grams is 9 into 10 raised to 6. So that we have written. So we get N as 8.5 10 raised to 28 per meter cube. That is the drift velocity calculation. Next we proceed on to another set of calculations. Say part 2 and part 3 are there. We go for it. Part 2 we see. Say part 1. In the part B there are 2 parts. First part B we read, compare the drift speed obtained above with say with this 1.1 millimeter per second. With thermal speeds of copper atoms at ordinary temperatures, we know thermal speeds are given by the formula 3/2 kT from the first year kinetic theory of gas. We write thermal speeds are given by V thermal is given by 3/2 kT, where K is Boltzmann constant, T is temperature. If we go for it, say this is now 3/2 kT is nothing but average kinetic energy. We can write it half mv Th square equals 3/2 kT, where K is Boltzmann constant, m is mass of one copper atom. By using this, if we calculate Vth, the thermal velocity, it gives us 2 into 10 raised to 2 meter per second. The thermal velocity, substituting for K, T as 300. Say if you substitute T as 300 Kelvin, that is room temperature around 27 degrees Celsius, Boltzmann constant, and mass of one copper atom, if you substitute, you will get Vth as 2 into 10 raised to 2 meter per second. That is the thermal velocity or thermal speed due to random motion. Observe, it is far more than the drift velocity, which is 1.1 millimeter per second. It is 200 meter per second. So with this, the last bit, speed of propagation of electric field along the conductor, which causes the drift motion. Speed of propagation of electric field is almost instantaneous. That is, it travels with the speed of light. Therefore, the speed of propagation of electric field is around 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That is speed of light, and it is very large compared to the drift motion. So these are the answers for these say two typical questions what may be asked for 1 mark also. The speed of propagation of electric field is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That is speed of light inside the conductor. And speed of thermal speeds of copper is nothing but the 2 into 10 raised to 2 meter per second. Now we proceed on to next numerical. Say we read the next numerical. We read the next numerical. The electron drift speed is estimated to be only few millimeter per second for currents in the range few ampere. How then is the current established almost instant a circuit is closed? This is a beautiful question, conceptual question. Observe here. That means, like they say, you have a conductor. You have a conductor like this. And in this conductor, if you establish the electric field, one electron acquires, say, 1.1 approximately into 10 raised to minus 3 meter per second drift velocity. Then if we imagine, say, just 10 meters of conductor, as we use say hundreds of meters in domestic connections, in 10 meters of wire, it takes lot of time to create the current. But here it is asked how we can establish it almost instantaneously, because observe carefully, as soon as we create an electric field, it travels with speed of light, almost speed of light, 3 into 10 raised to 8. And not only that, the electrons, as free electrons, they are very large in number, around 10 raised to 28 in copper. Not the electron at the positive end or negative end has to travel all the way to the other end, because at each and every location inside the wire, inside the conductor, free electrons starts drifting with that. Therefore, the current is established almost instantaneously, because the electrons need not move from negative end to a positive end all the way. The electrons at the positive end completes this flow, and likewise, because of the large number of electrons are distributed over the conductor, we can create or we can establish the current almost instantaneously. We go for the second question there. We read the second question. The electron's drift arises due to the force experienced by electrons in the electric field inside the conductor. But force should cause acceleration. Why then the electrons acquire steady average drift velocity? Say we said in the discussion, drift velocity is mu into E, where mu is permeability, say mobility, which is a constant, E tau by m, and say we know the mu expression, E tau by m, and E, electric field. If even both of them are constant, therefore drift velocity is also constant. But here, as we apply the electric field, we know the charges should get accelerated. Here the question concentrates on why the electrons can actually, even though there is acceleration, why they don't show any change, their average velocity becomes constant. Why it is happening? This we can think of like this. Say, as free electrons move from one point to another point, they undergo very large number of collision. As soon as they collide, they stop and start again. So because of this type of idea, again starting at the collisions, they acquire an average velocity which comes to be mu e. That is why, because of the large number of collisions that happens for the electrons, the drift velocity won't show any change. That's why it becomes almost constant. That is the reason. Let me explain it once again. Because of the large number of free electrons present, and they collide with large number of ions there, and large number of collisions create the make drift velocity almost constant, average drift velocity almost constant. Because at each and every collision, an electron starts afresh. Therefore, the overall average velocity becomes almost constant. Say with this, we go for the part C there. If the electron drift speed is so small and electron's charge is small, how can we still obtain large current? Again, because of this question can be answered like this. In any conductor, there's large quantity of electrons, free electrons. For example, in copper 10 raised to 28 per meter cube. Because of that large number of electrons, free electrons, even though drift speed is small, we can get large current. And going for the part D there, we read, when electrons in the metal drift in a metal from lower to higher potential, does it mean that all the free electrons of metal are moving in the same direction? This I discussed in the theory itself. Say, whenever we apply electric field to a conductor, it will not stop random motion. It will only superpose the drift velocity on the random motion. Therefore, once we apply electric field to a conductor, both drift velocity and random motion are there. That means each electron will have two velocities, one due to the drifting of the electrons due to the applied field, another due to thermal, that is random motion. That's why once we apply the electric field, not all electrons will move in the same direction. They continue in their random motion. Apart from that random motion, one-sided directional motion also superimposed on the electron. That is why once we apply the electric field, electron motion will not be in the same direction. They continue to be in the random motion. Apart from that, there's a one directional motion is also superimposed. So we go for question number E there. Are the paths of electrons straight lines between successive collisions? In fact, in this question, what we have asked is, say we take a conductor without electric field. According to Newton's law, as we apply Newton's law for this, as we assume the free electrons are like gas molecules, the free electrons' motion between two collisions must be straight in the absence of electric field, because it is only due to thermal energy they are moving, and between two collisions there is no other force acting on them. Therefore, they move in straight according to the laws of motion, first law of motion. Now, presence of electric field. In the presence of electric field, apart from random motion, electric field also applies some force on that. Because of that, between two collisions, the path may be curved. In the presence of electric field, path of the electron between two collisions is curved. In the absence of electric field, it is completely straight. So with these things, now we proceed on to next concept. Now we learn limitations of Ohm's law. That means, as I told you in the beginning, Ohm's law is not a law at all because it's valid only for particular type of substance, that is metallic conductors. That too not too high temperature or not too low temperature. In the moderate temperature only this law is valid. Therefore, it has many limitations there. We start with one by one. Say first one, actually many times V is not proportional to I. Many cases V stops proportional to current. V ceases to be proportional to the current. And second one, say when we reverse the voltage, current decreasing value is not reversed. It will take some other thing. That means there is no proportionality in the reverse direction. That means in some semiconducting diodes, the current is not proportional to the voltage. Therefore, for semiconducting devices, the Ohm's law is not applicable. Not only for that, even for ionic conductors like copper sulfate in water, like this, the Ohm's law is not applicable. For electrolytes, for that matter, Ohm's law is not applicable. And many times, as we increase the voltage in some devices, the voltage decreases, say current decreases as we increase the voltage, like this. Observe, this is the voltage, this is the current. As we increase the voltage, current decreases. Current decreases. This is not according to Ohm's law. That's why these are the important facts, limitations of Ohm's law. Let me go through it once again. In many cases, Ohm's law is not valid because potential difference is not directly proportional to the current, or current directly proportional to potential difference is not observed. And Ohm's law is not valid for ionic conductors and semiconductors. And then Ohm's law, according to Ohm's law, as voltage increases, current should increase, but in some cases, as voltage increases, current decreases, as we have written in this graph. That's also a drawback. So these are the few limitations of Ohm's law. And also very important, fourth one, the Ohm's law is not valid at too high temperature or too low temperature of the substance. So these are the limitations of Ohm's law. Now we proceed on to one important concept what we come across in the limitation. We look at this graph. In this graph, as V increases, I decreases. It has negative slope. Therefore, we call this region as negative resistance region. Negative resistance region. Because the slope is negative, the R will become, V by I will become negative. That's why we call this as negative resistance region. Negative resistance means as we increase the voltage, current decreases, opposite to the Ohm's law. In Ohm's law, as voltage increases, current should increase. Here the opposite happens. That's why the slope is negative, and we call that as negative resistance region. With these things about limitations of Ohm's law, we proceed on to the idea of, say, dependence of resistivity and resistance of the conductor on temperature. Say, resistivity of metallic conductors depends on the temperature region also. In the moderate temperature region, we can write rho naught into 1 plus alpha T minus T naught. So this is the expression for resistivity at a given temperature, where rho naught is resistance at temperature T naught and rho is resistivity at temperature T. Alpha is called as temperature coefficient of resistivity, temperature coefficient of resistivity, temperature coefficient of resistivity, sometimes resistance also called temperature coefficient of resistivity. Rho naught is resistivity at T naught temperature. So this is the expression for resistivity and its dependence on the temperature. For metallic conductors, as we have proved, conductivity is Ne squared tau by M. Therefore, resistivity is reciprocal of it, M by Ne squared tau. And observe, according to relaxation time concept, as temperature increases, collisions will become more and more, and the relaxation time decreases. Because of that, resistivity increases. That means resistivity of the metallic conductors in which free electrons are charge carriers increase as temperature increases, as the relaxation time decreases. Now we go for typical curves of resistivity variation with respect to temperature. For copper, we write, for copper, resistivity variation will take this type of thing, rho versus temperature. For nichrome, say nichrome is an alloy, for that we write rho versus T is a straight line like this. Nichrome is nickel chromium alloy. The variation of resistivity is like this, and where it cuts the y-axis is rho naught. This is the graph for semiconductors, the graph of resistivity versus temperature like this. Say it goes like this. It goes like this. That is, in semiconductors, as temperature increases, resistivity decreases, unlike in metals. In metals, resistivity increases as temperature increases. And also, we can write it for the resistance also. For the metals, resistance at any temperature RT can be written as R naught into 1 plus alpha T minus T naught. Say T naught is temperature and R naught is resistance at that temperature. RT is resistance at this temperature T. So this is another thing. And also, once we don't know R naught value, we can write alpha also in this form, R2 minus R1 by R1 T2 minus R2 T1. Here R2 and R1 are resistance at temperatures T2 and T1 respectively. This is another formula. Without proof, we can take it and we can use it in the calculation of, say, values for the alpha in numericals. With this, I conclude this session here. In the next session, we continue with some more concepts of electrical power and other things.